Hey guys, and welcome to another. This is actually a special video. I know I did one of these on it's a Triple H podcast, and I will be reviewing the McMahon podcast that Austin did with him. I kind of want to rewatch it, so I can talk about the topics that they discussed, and may even revisit the Triple H one, with maybe a revisit tag at the end of the video, but I did want to tell people I did watch it and review it. But I did start to look at some of the other videos I could review that were shorter. I'm still working on Starcade 83. The old videos is from WCW and stuff. They're going to be hard and difficult to go back and review. But I did want to start reviewing that. I may start on something else that's easier to get through. It's not as horrible, but some of the older stuff are dated and everything like that. But I did want to watch. I watched Legends of Wrestling, and I did kind of start in the middle of one of the years. But the Legends of Wrestling series is great. I don't know why they stopped. Maybe they'll start it up at some point. I think they get a lot of legends in the Hall of Fame that would probably love to be on the WWE and have, be able to provide content for that reason. So I hope they bring back Legends of Wrestling. I believe the last time they did one was in 2012 when they recorded stuff. And I mean, there's plenty of topics they could talk about. I mean, they could talk about anything. I kind of wish that WWE would have some kind of news program geared like weekly that could talk about like everything in general in the wrestling industry. Talk about TNA, talk about ROH. What reasons and ways to go out of the box and to actually have people on the show from other promotions. I know that would probably be taboo. And I mean, they wouldn't have to advertise it or anything. Just maybe have Jeff Jarrett on there, talk about GFW, talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling making a splash now in the U.S. Things like that. But Legends of Wrestling, we're here to talk about rivalries, and this is I put number one. I think I might have spelled that right. Yeah. If I spell something wrong in the future, just be prepared. But I know there's two I'm working on. I was going to watch two and review it as well, but I figured, well, I'll wait, and I'll probably go back, and so it's not like right after the other one. But this had the round table with Jim Ross at the head, and had Mick Foley and Eric Bischoff to his left, right on the screen, of course, and Michael P.S. Hayes and Jerry Lawler as well. Michael P.S. Hayes and Jerry Lawler seem to be on there quite a bit if you watch a lot of the Legends of Wrestling roundtables. But I did have paper to write down just exactly what they talked about. They only talked about two rivalries. Kind of surprising what Bischoff brought up. And I remember I did watch this before, but it was still interesting to watch again. The first rivalry they brought up was probably the one that's, of all the wrestling fans, and I think everyone probably would agree, the internet blew up. And the fans that blew up during the era of the Attitude Era were the ones that are mainly on the internet today, bashing and criticizing, the wrestling that's going on today. So Austin versus McMahon was talked about a lot, at very great lengths, and they talked about how, it really affected a lot of people, and that from Vince working with Austin, he was able to go on and work with other people, The Rock. What else did they talk about? The Rock. He also worked with other people. I'm blanking on the names he talked about. But he went on to work with Hulk Hogan again when he came back, and in that way, which he had never worked with him in that way before, and he worked with other people, and he was able to capture kind of like what that secret formula is between him and Steve, and was able to take that elsewhere. He did it with Mankind. He did it with The Rock. He did it with a lot of people. We've seen a lot of things come out of that. Mr. Sacco for Mankind. We've seen Mike Tyson's involvement. They also talked about the ECW Austin promos, which kind of helped Austin to get to that level, to where he would be able to be in that kind of spot in the WWE. He didn't really. I kind of want to disagree that he got better as promos in ECW. I think he was good at promos in WCW. I totally disagree with them saying that he wasn't very good until he got to ECW. I disagree with that. He was good in promos in WCW. I enjoyed all his promos in WCW, and he was stunning Steve Austin, and I enjoyed that. But when he got to ECW, he was able to, how do I, in today's world, how do I get over, and what subject should I touch? And he basically told the truth, and was able to get out a lot of his frustrations. Do I think that he got better? No, I don't think he got better. He just was able to get a lot of stuff off his chest, and was able to move on from things that happened in his career. Maybe he got better a little bit. Just hearing everybody else do promos in ECW, that's the only thing I would add to that. But I think all this crap about ECW, and they always keep bringing it up, is, that's where he honed his skills. And even Austin admits it, but it's like, come on, Austin. He was a good promo person in WCW. It's just they didn't give him enough time to do what he wanted to do. Lawler picked the Rivalry because every person in the roundtable picked the Rivalry. And Lawler picked this one. Bischoff picked Kurt Hennig versus Nick Bockwinkel. And this is one where it's kind of interesting because this is kind of the one I thought I remembered that's what they talked about. That's kind of why I kind of wanted to watch it so I would be able to talk about it. Kurt Hennig versus Nick Bockwinkel. And if you're a wrestling fan who, grew up in the Attitude Era, you without a doubt, you loved the violence, the hitting with weapons and things like that. And then now you're kind of pulled into this new generation of wrestling, where you see Eddie Guerrero, Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, you were kind of brought into that. And, a lot of the Attitude fans, we were okay with that. We were fine with that. So you kind of get turned around, and now you're a wrestling fan. And it's like Raven once said, things go in a swivel in the wrestling industry. And now it's kind of hard to pinpoint where we are, where the fans want wrestling, but WWE's giving us entertainment. So it's not really, they're kind of going against the grain, which is probably why they're having so much a hard time trying to figure out what we want, because they're trying to shove entertainment at us when all we want is a lot of pure wrestling is what the main fans. And if you hear noise in the background, it's my dishwasher. But they're kind of going against grain. That's why we're having some problem nowadays. But Kurt Hennig and Nick Bockwinkel, what Eric Bischoff brought up, which is very interesting, was an AWA rivalry. And it was really, I can't personally tell you what the rivalry was like, but one good thing to do is go on the WWE Network. And I don't remember when it happened, but I know they have the Mr. Perfect. I don't know if it's on the Mr. Perfect thing or not. I know if you buy the DVD, the Mr. Perfect DVD, they have the extras, and it has the Kurt Hennig, Nick Bockwinkel match where they wrestle for an entire hour, and it ends up being a draw. So Nick Bockwinkel could not beat Kurt Hennig. And this led to, I believe, like the next few matches after that would be the time when Kurt Hennig actually loses, or actually wins the belt. He ends up defeating Nick Bockwinkel and becoming the AWA World Heavyweight Champion. But this match went on for an hour, and to me, when I was thinking the entire time I was watching Legends of Wrestling, and they were talking about, the rivalries and everything like that, the thing I talked about is like an hour, how an hour wrestling match could entertain somebody. And it takes a lot to do that. I mean, I don't even think Stone Cold and The Rock, I don't think Stone Cold and McMahon could have pulled that off. But you get Kurt Hennig and Nick Bockwinkel, and they're able to entertain the audience, go back and forth throughout the entire match for 1 hour long. And the other flip side of it, too, is what about the people watching at home? What about the announcers? They had to really sell that match. They really had to find something to talk about the entire time the match was going on. And they talked the entire time. And sometimes they babbled. They didn't really say much, but it's like an hour-long match. You got to figure out something to say. But they talked about this match. They didn't really say a whole lot about, what it did. They talked about Kurt Hennig as a person, being an incredible, just incredible person in and out of the ring. And, I personally miss Mr. Perfect. I miss Kurt Hennig. And they talked about his father, Larry the Axe Hennig, and his son, Curtis Axel. And they didn't really talk about him too much, but, I know Curtis Axel, he's just got to find his hook in the system, and I think that I think Triple H has a sore spot in his heart for Curtis Axel, and I think something will happen with him. You know, within a few years, I think something's going to happen. I would not doubt they try and force it and try and do something with him. But I mean, I think, you know, along the way, people will respect it and, you know, accept him as a superstar. In terms of Nick Bockwinkel, you know, I never really knew much about Nick Bockwinkel until recently when I bought the Mr. Perfect DVD a couple years ago and watched it. All I knew is he was, I believe, a commissioner in WCW like in the 90s at some point, and that's all I really knew about him. I knew he got inducted in the Hall of Fame in WWE. I remember them talking about when they did the Clash of Champions like a long time ago. They had a lot of legends there, and I believe he was at the Legends, you call it Slamboree. I think he was at the Slamboree thing when they had that, when they first started having that. They had some legend matches. I don't know if he wrestled on there, but I remember him being involved in that in some way, shape, or form. But, you know, if you want to check out that match, check out that match. I'm sure it's on the WWE Network somewhere. You just got to find it. If it's not on there, you know, I mean, I would just watch the Mr. Perfect documentary. It might be on there. They may talk about it. They may show clips from it. It's an awesome match. If you get the opportunity to buy the Mr. Perfect DVD, it's pretty cheap nowadays. I know I got it. I think I still got it. I don't know if I sent it in to sell it or not. I don't remember. I think it's packed away in the process of moving. But yeah, pretty good show. It's interesting. Legends of Wrestling, Rivalries 1. Any of the Legends of Wrestling I would recommend watching, so I'm not going to give you a recommendation grade. I mean, it was for what it's worth, I think it was like a 4 in my book. I was giving a rating of, you know, it would give it a 5, but they kind of rambled on and on about Austin versus Man. It's like, come on, we've heard this before. And if you're an Attitude Era person, you know, you get tired of hearing about some shit like over and over again. And definitely that's what it was. Her hitting Nick Bockwinkel, they talked about it, but all they kept talking about was, oh, Nick Bockwinkel was in a suit and all this other jazz. And it's like, yeah, that's interesting, but why can't you tell us more about something else, you know? And I don't know, it just seems like sometimes they rattle on about things that doesn't make no sense. Like Mick Foley went on his rant, talking about his career during this. They talking about Jerry Lawler's career during this, and it was kind of stupid. It had no point at all. It didn't make any sense. They had to point questions at Eric Bischoff and bash him during this as well. That was kind of like why I gave it a 4, probably a 3.5 to be quite honest, of this. So 3.5 is what I would say, I guess. But yeah, pretty good little show. Rivalries 1. I'll be definitely doing Rivalries 2, which will be Michael Hayes and Mick Foley's picks for the Rivalries. Kind of interesting to see what that is. I'm guaranteeing that Mick Foley probably picks Don Morocco and Jimmy Superfly Snuka for that feud, and I don't know what Michael Hayes would pick, but don't tell me. I'll watch it. Even if you tell me, I don't care. I'll watch it. I'm not that kind of guy that gets ruined by surprise. But anyway, didn't want to make this video very long, but evidently it went a little longer than what I thought it was going to go. Hope you enjoy my series. If you want me to review one of the short videos on WWE Network, let me know. And thank you for watching, and I'll try and keep these videos rolling. Keep on rocking, subscribe, like, comment down below. Hate me if you want to, because I'm beautiful.